The geopolitical overlay here, right? So you have sources, and you guys have heard about this big story. Of course, sources say the Chinese President Xi Jinping is pushing President Donald Trump to oppose Taiwan independence. Now, the wording that would mark a major diplomatic win for Beijing and really comes as both sides seek this trade deal.
Yeah, our Bloomberg opinion columnist Karishma Vaswani says that such a shift will be a major blow to the island and would brand Washington as an unreliable partner in the region. She joins us now from Singapore. And yeah, your column, will U.S. trade Taiwan for TikTok and tariffs, just highlights how interesting, Taiwan plays into this all. What's at stake here?
Well, there is so much at stake, Yvonne, and I found it really interesting, picking up from where Annabelle was talking about TSMC and being pressured to invest more in terms of manufacturing in the United States. Now, if you look at the relationship between President Donald Trump and China, particularly in this term, I think it's fair to say that it's been defined by the 3 T's, as I say in my column, and that is TikTok, tariffs, and Taiwan. Now, Taiwan is at the geopolitical heart of this because, of course, Trump wants a deal when it comes to trade. He wants, he has sort of moved and maneuvered a deal on TikTok. But what China wants, what the red line for Xi Jinping is to get that ultimate prize, the legacy-making goal that Xi has stated very publicly, and that is to unify with Taiwan either through peaceful means or by force. And these reports, of course, coming out that Xi Jinping is looking to have a discussion with Trump at some point, if indeed that meeting does go ahead in October between the two of them, where he might push, according to the sources that we've been speaking to, for a change in this diplomatic language that has defined the relationship around Taiwan between the U.S. and China for decades. Now, if this were to happen, and it's a big if, currently there are no indications that that could be the case, it would really upend the diplomatic, delicate dance around the geopolitical stakes of this island that we know it as it stands. It would send a signal to Japan and Korea that security could be at risk in the Indo-Pacific, and it would certainly send a signal to Southeast Asian countries who are hedged between the U.S. and China, rather, I should say, that Washington is an unreliable partner.
Yeah, I think, if we get to that point, being vague, ambiguity is not enough, right? So say it effectively. And how big of a shift would that? What would that mean? That change in the wording and that old language on Taiwan status. What does that entail? How do I need to be thinking about the changes that comes from any potential change there?
Yeah, so strategic ambiguity is the way that the United States has managed its relationship with Taiwan. And effectively what that means is that it adheres to the one China principle, but at the same time, it allows Washington to be able to deal with Taiwan in the way that it wants, selling arms to it, for instance, and having unofficial relationships with it in the sense that, for instance, there is a sort of de facto embassy in the U.S. where Taiwan representatives have relationships, conversations, discussions with U.S. officials. Now, this has worked for decades, but it really annoys China, which has done its best over the last few decades to find a way to diminish Taiwan's diplomatic status. And interestingly, in another column that I wrote last week, for instance, that relationship was highlighted again when Taiwan chose to weaponize its chips diplomacy for what appears to be the very first time by actually saying to South Africa that was trying to push one of Taiwan's representative offices to another part of the country ahead of a meeting with Xi Jinping by saying, look, if that's going to happen, you're not going to get complete access to our chips. Now, this was ultimately suspended, but I think what it shows is a recognition in Taiwan, and certainly by President Lai, that his island is being squeezed again and again by China and this relationship with the United States.
Is there anything then that President Lai Ching-te can do?
Well, he's in an unenviable position, Yvonne. He's being squeezed internationally, and he's also being squeezed at home, particularly when it comes to trying to push through some of the things he would like to see in the legislature. Now, one of the key things that the Trump administration has demanded, not just of Taiwan, but of countries around the region, is more defense spending. He really needs to be able to find a way to get opposition parties on board to be able to do that and to push through what he has said in the budget. And I think the other thing that would be very useful is to try and find out exactly how to give Trump what he wants. Some of the things, for instance, as Annabelle was talking about, more of an increase in manufacturing in the United States. But at the same time, he's got to ensure that the silicon shield, which is what Taiwan's precious gems, precious assets, those chips that can't be made anywhere else for now, they retain control of that, because that is what lies at the heart of this and what makes Taiwan so unique and so special, both to the United States and to China.